In this world, there are humans and monsters who can not only live together, but even start dating or marry. And this is no sweet dream. For our protagonist named Yuki, it is quite a reality. In his world, it is quite common for succubi to become attached to humans and feed off their energy. Moreover, most people even wish to have a succubus partner. This is how Yuki meets Nono, a succubus who couldn't get hired until now. Her chances of getting a job were so slim that she would go out on the street with a cardboard sign, literally begging someone to take her to his house. When she arrives at his house, Nono tells her that she will work very hard and do whatever he wants, with the exception of lewd acts. Since that's kind of the succubus' main job, she's often told that she's completely useless because she gets stiff and tired when she's trying to do something intimate. But Yuki doesn't care about any of that. In the end, he's just happy to have such a pretty demoness living with him, and offers her all the energy she wants. The next morning, Nono proves to be helpful in many other ways as well. She wakes him up with a delicious breakfast, makes him a bento, and greets him with an amazing dinner at the end of the day. She's a good cook, too. Apparently, she's spent a long time honing her skills to compensate for the fact that she can't do normal succubus tasks. At the end of their first day together, Nono falls asleep on the floor next to him, and Yuki can't sleep with excitement. Now he has a lovely maid who cooks and cares for him, and who will do almost anything he asks. Hiring a succubus is already the best decision of his life. It's been 3 days now, and Yuki still can't believe his luck. Nono is very grateful to be by his side and cares for him very much. But more than anything else, he's just thrilled to have the chance to live with a cute girl who will hold his hand, cuddle with him, and even just be there to talk to him. You see, up until now, Yuki has lived a pretty lonely life. He is burdened by corrupted energy, which made all the succubi want to stay away from him. When he went to the hospital, he was told that his energy was so strong that he could put any future partners in danger. The only person who could maybe match his energy would perhaps have been the succubus queen, which is obviously pretty unachievable for the average human. After that diagnosis, everyone in his neighborhood started treating him differently, calling him disgusting. Even the succubi wanted nothing to do with him. So when Nono asks him to massage her shoulders after a long day of work, he refuses, scared that if he touches her, she'll find out about his corrupted energy. She's a little upset, so he apologizes profusely and admits that he has deceived her. He's about to confess the truth, but it turns out Nono already knows, and she doesn't care. Besides, she's actually a relative of the succubus queen, so she could handle him just fine. Yuki is shocked when she grabs his hand, and is so overjoyed to be touching a girl that he starts breaking down in tears. Way to keep it cool, Yuki. Soon enough, he can't imagine living without her and wants her around looking after him long term. She treats him like a younger brother, pampering him and cooking for him and waking him up with a bright smile every day. But this was always going to be just 1 week of training for Nono, after which she would finally be qualified to look after a real human and become a great employee to someone new. Even though it's only been a short time, once they hit the middle of the week, Yuki realizes he has to make the most of the days they have left together. So he gets down on his hands and knees and begs for a hug, because that doesn't look embarrassingly desperate or anything. But Nono doesn't mind. She just opens her arms and pulls him in, even enjoying it a bit herself. She says she's never had the chance to hug a human like this before, and that it's making her heart race. Little does she know, Yuki feels exactly the same way. The next day, things are a lot less lovey-dovey. When Yuki rocks up with 2 boys, all 3 of them beat up and bruised. Before she can even ask what happened, he begs her to take them in and look after them for just a little. Ever the dutiful housemaid, Nono gets to work straight away, patching them back up and even offering their guests dinner. Once the boys have had her stew, they're totally sold, and even ask if they can move in with Yuki just to stay with his succubus. Looks like there are 2 new members of the Nono fan club. When the boys leave, Yuki finally explains what that was all about. Those guys are actually his friends, but they got into a conversation about the succubus staying with him. Unsurprisingly, they treated the whole situation like a cheap porno, because, well, it kind of is the perfect setup. But Yuki couldn't stand them talking that way about her, so he beats them up and brought them home so they could see just how wonderful and innocent she is. Nono is touched that he would defend her honor like that and strokes his hair, saying she's glad that he thinks about her that way. She suddenly realizes what she's doing and apologizes, but Yuki, ever the simp, is delighted and begs her to keep patting him as long as she wants. Honestly, this kid does not know the meaning of the word chill. Before he knows it, their final day arrives. Yuki can't believe she's going to leave tomorrow and spends the whole day trying to figure out a way to thank her for everything she's done. But when the evening rolls around, he is completely ambushed. Nono asks if they could spend their last night in the same bed. The poor kid is totally flustered. Nono just wants a chance to talk side by side and to say thank you. While she's been staying with him, she's experienced warmth and kindness for the first time in her life, so she's really very grateful. Yuki plugs up the courage to thank her too, and says he's helped her as well. For some reason, this makes Nono start crying. I guess because she's just as sad to be leaving as he is to see her go. But one way or another, she does pack her things the next morning. Yuki wishes her good luck with the job hunt, and that's that. Once she's gone, he goes into full sad boy mode, sitting, listening to the rain, and lying on the floor feeling sorry for himself. Then suddenly, the doorbell goes off, and of course, he sprints to get it. And what do you know? It's Nono, back again so soon. But she seems pretty sad about something. Yuki invites her inside, but she seems determined to stand there in the rain as she admits that she lied to him too. As it turns out, she never had any intention of getting a job. She thinks of herself as a total failure, that there's no way she'll ever get employed. It's kind of a sad thing to admit, but she wanted to come back and apologize for lying to him about her true intentions, especially after he was so encouraging to her. Yuki pulls her back upright and tells her that she's wrong. Admittedly, he's also a social outcast and has no idea how succubi are supposed to act to get a job. But what he does know is that she was a joy to have around, and that she worked really, really hard. So he asks her to not speak so harshly about herself, and offers her the chance to stay with him a little longer. Finally, I knew he'd work up the courage in the end. Nono gratefully accepts, and things go straight back to the way they were when she makes him dinner as a thank you. Then we get to see a bit of Nono's perspective, mainly how hard it was going for interviews and doing her best to make a good impression with potential employers. But of course, whenever they learn that she can't do lewd things, they quickly became uninterested. After all, that is kind of the point of a succubus. It must have been disheartening, but since she couldn't do what was expected of her, she worked really hard to learn just about everything else. She was just about to give up searching when she met Yuki, who made her feel accepted and useful, and accepted her just the way she is. Even in the short time they've known each other, he's made her feel like there might be a place in the world for someone like her, and gave her a reason to keep going. That's why she's so incredibly grateful to be back by his side, where she can feel useful again. But it's not just Nono who benefits from their relationship. Yuki is overjoyed that their daily routine can start up again, just the way it was last week. Although things are slowly changing, too, he can feel his succubus roommate getting more relaxed with each passing day, which is great, except it also leads to some interesting encounters around the house. Like when Nono forgot to take her clothes to the shower and he walked into the hallway to find her in nothing but a towel. You would hope that a guy like Yuki could control himself. But remember, this guy has a sex drive so high that it's actually dangerous for him to get involved with normal humans. It's no surprise that a scene like that would drive him crazy. But it doesn't seem like Nono is trying to tease him. She looks just as embarrassed as he is. Even just remembering the incident brings him embarrassment. But Nono makes it even worse by holding him very tightly against her. She's trying to give him some kind of healing magic, but they end up slipping over because of course they do. Faced with the cute demon succubus beneath him, what do you think Yuki will do? Well, guess again. Because instead of taking advantage of the opportunity that has just been handed to him, he lunges for his cat and starts playing with it instead. Maybe he's just trying to cool off? Kind of a weird way of doing it, but whatever keeps him sane, I guess. The next day, Yuki has a test to study for, so Nono decides to support him/torture him by dressing up as a teacher. She commends him for working so hard on his studies, and he tells her she's the reason for his motivation. Watching her work so hard to improve herself gave him the inspiration to try his best at school. Nono is really touched by that, and promises to work even harder to meet his expectations in the future. She says they should celebrate after his test, especially if he gets a good grade, and offers to do just about anything he wants. Obviously, those are the magic words for Yuki. I bet he'll ace it no problem with an offer like that on the line. But when he gets home after the test, Yuki looks incredibly exhausted. It seems like 3 days of cramming and studying all through the night has really taken it out of him. But it's all worth it. Nono doesn't even need to wait for the results to give him his reward. She moves his head onto her lap, which makes poor Yuki just about implode as she tells him to relax. Then, she uses her succubus powers to create a kind of illusion. From their living room, she recreates one of her favorite locations, allowing a gorgeous meadow full of flowers to spring up around them. It's a special memory for Nono, and one she's been wanting to show him for a while. Since he worked so hard on the test, she tells him to let go and take a break. It's a very sweet gesture, although somehow I get the feeling Yuki won't be able to relax all that much while he's resting on her lap. They soon get the marks back from Yuki's exam, and it turns out he passed every single one of them. He didn't top the class or anything, but Nono is so proud of him that she says they should celebrate again, because apparently that wasn't enough of a reward last time. She says that as long as it's within her power, she'll literally do anything. So now comes the moment of truth. Can Yuki grab this opportunity by the horns and finally ask her on a date? The answer is no, he can't. He gets halfway through the sentence and fumbles the ball, asking her to go out to the shops with him in just about the most awkward way possible. He makes some excuse about her always being saddled with the shopping, and say they only have to go for a little bit. She doesn't reply at first, and Yuki thinks he might have screwed up. But actually, Nono really likes the idea. It's just that she's never gone out with a boy before, so the idea has made her all excited. And obviously, that sends Yuki over the moon. Well, that's Nono for you. And she can turn even the most awkward of proposals into an adorable adventure. When the day of the date arrives, Yuki can hardly believe his luck. Despite his fumbling the requests, they are still technically on a date after all. He takes her out to a remote little town, and is really excited to have her by his side out in public. Even just talking to her as they walk makes him feel like his entire life has been worthwhile, which would be a bit dramatic. But it is Yuki. He never thought he'd be able to touch a girl, let alone go on a date. This is like his ultimate dream come true. He thanks Nono for coming out with him and tells her she looks especially stylish. Nono is a little flustered to see just how happy this has made him, and admits this is her first sort of date as well, so she's also really enjoying herself, or at least she was, until the two of them are rudely interrupted by a blonde, mean-looking succubus girl who seems to recognize Nono. The stranger walks up to the two of them. She seems completely shocked that Nono could possibly have found herself a guy, and comments really that Yuki must have really weird taste to want someone like her as his partner. Obviously, Yuki isn't going to take that. As chief simp of the Nono Club, he seems ready to fight this girl right there on the street, but before he can defend her, Nono cuts him off. She apologizes and goes all formal, addressing the girl as Rana-san, and remarking on how her and her partner ended up in Japan as well. And maybe it is a good thing she cut him off, because Rano's partner looks like he could take both of them with one hand tied behind his back. Rano jokes that Japanese guys are super gullible, and then goes straight back to making fun of Nono. She calls her a total newborn, mocking the fact that she still has no wings and refuses to use the power of a succubus, even going so far as to call her a brat. But Rano really steps over the line when she starts coming on to Yuki, offering him a chance to switch sides and come toy with her instead, making some really gross promises. Of course, Yuki isn't swayed at all. He calls her a very rude name and shoves her away, defending Nono and saying she's a wonderful person who doesn't need any charm, because he's already head over heels for her. Well, I guess that's one way to confess your feelings. Yuki's moment of bravery is touching, but it looks like he might have picked a fight with the wrong couple. Reina readies the giant muscle man at her side for a fight, promising to show them the true power of a succubus. The blonde beefcake by her side launches into action the moment she commands him to kill, using his huge hands to grab Yuki, but the guy ends up on his knees in seconds, quickly collapsing as soon as Yuki touches him. It seems the bond between him and his succubus isn't quite as strong as she thinks. He hardly has to use any of his corrupted energy to take him out, and leave Rano trembling on the ground as well. It's nice to see that all that corrupted energy is good for something after all. Yuki walks up to the bully and tells her never to talk about Nono like that again. As she looks up at the two of them, Rano seems to realize what just happened, and jokes that they're a match made in heaven, a useless succubus, and a monster. I guess they do make the perfect partners. But Yuki just takes it in stride, and even thanks her for the compliment, which, I have to admit, is kinda badass. Even though he got the chance to play the hero, Ranma's interruption did kind of ruin their date. When the day comes to an end, Yuki apologizes for taking them to such a remote location. After all, if they had stayed closer to home, they probably wouldn't have run into that nasty succubus. He admits he was only thinking of himself, and hardly seems able to forgive himself for putting her in harm's way. But Nono doesn't see it like that at all. She tells him she was really happy on their date, and that the way he defended her was really cool. Yuki said he could see how unhappy she was by the look on her face. So Nono tells him to turn around, and asks if she still looks miserable now. When she's up this close, Yuki can hardly control himself. But for once, he doesn't have to. Nono leans in and gives him a kiss, right here in the middle of the street. How romantic. When they pull away, both their hearts are racing. But Yuki is far more affected by her charms than he was expecting. Nono has always claimed not to be able to use her succubus powers, But is that what's happening here? His body reacted before he could think twice, so maybe there is something more than romance at work. Either way, he's a little embarrassed, and doesn't want her to misunderstand his intentions. Yuki apologizes for acting so rashly and admits he couldn't hold himself back, but Nono feels exactly the same. She also couldn't stop herself from kissing him, and now she's even more embarrassed than he is. Oh lord, they're both as bad as each other, and if this is what they're like after one kiss, who knows how they'll act when they take things up a notch. Of course, after the kiss, everything is different. Somehow they manage to make everything awkward, even just saying good morning the next day. As to whether Nono used her succubus powers on Yuki is still unclear, though we get some clues in a flashback to her childhood, sometime after Nono failed the demon awakening ceremony. At the time, she was distraught, and it probably didn't help that her mother said she didn't want a child like Nono, but her great-grandmother was there to comfort her. She revealed that succubi didn't used to use their charms to capture the attention of men the way they do now. Originally, they only loved one person their whole life, and only when their love was reciprocated would they use their charm and settle down. So really, Nono was just more traditional than the other succubi. Her great-grandma apologized for not going out and setting the others straight, but little Nono didn't mind. She was just happy to have someone in her corner for once. Although it's a sweet memory, it brings tears to Nono's eyes, partly because she misses her family, but also because it brings all her feelings for Yuki right back to the surface. Looks like these two really are head over heels for each other. I only hope they both realize it soon. The days pass, but things don't get any less awkward between Nono and Yuki. Nowadays, they're hyper-aware of every movement the other one takes. Heck, even just looking at Nono makes Yuki feel like he's about to go into cardiac arrest. Luckily, his little kitty Mike is there to calm him down every time he gets flustered. Who knows why it works, but somehow playing with Mike can get him over just about anything. When Nono asks about their connection, Yuki reveals that the two of them have been together a long time. In fact, he thinks of Mike more like family than a pet. While he's having a very tender moment with his furry friend, Nono interrupts to reveal that every time he's played with his cat, he's actually been dumping all of his corrupted energy into it. As she points out, his energy is so potent that any normal person would have been dead by now. So that means Mike isn't an ordinary cat. As it turns out, Mike is a girl, more like a cat-human hybrid. Yuki is absolutely shocked to discover this feline girl in place of his cat companion, and even more shocked when she starts talking, calling Yuki her master and telling him off for treating her so roughly. Well, who could have seen that coming? Yuki is still kind of in disbelief about the girl with cat ears and a tail in his living room when Mike drops another bomb on him. It seems like they've met before, but somewhere down the road, she changed into a pet cat and stayed that way for quite some time. Though it looks like now that Nono is in the picture, Mike wants to upgrade their relationship and show off just how close she and Yuki are. She gets very touchy-feely and suggests they show the newcomer the true extent of their bond, offering to do pretty much anything he wants. Even though she's very cute, Yuki finds the willpower to pull her away and refuse, telling her she's more like family than a partner. He even asks her to turn back into a cat he preferred when she was cute and fluffy, and not so sexual. Unsurprisingly, Mike doesn't take that very well, and has a literal hissy fit, not understanding how he could refuse her human body, while Nono sort of just watches them scuffle on the ground. Right, because that isn't awkward at all. This is the end of the first part of our unemployed succubus. If you want to see the second part, let's get 300 likes and also write the secret word, succub, if you watched this video to the end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to the channel. See you later and bye-bye.